Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 20th day of May, 2019. Well, 20 is a 2 energy, so right away we're talking about balance here today. Balanced polarity on a Monday of all days. Emotional moon day. Try to remain in balance. Before I get started, though, I wanted to welcome everybody. If you haven't been here before, thank you so much for stopping by. Click subscribe. I hope you'll do that. If you've come back, welcome back. Thank you so much. I did some writing on the blog. If you've been checking out the blog periodically, you might have noticed. I did a tarot reading focusing on empowerment for women and protection of women, given that we're at risk again. Well, we're always at risk. I don't know why I should say again. It's just, SSDD, same what, different day. Anyway, in the life of a woman. Anyway, I did the tarot reading in the maiden phase, and then on Saturday, that was Friday, and then Saturday, I did another. I think I called it Full Flower Moon Musings or something. I think that's what I called it. Anyway, I did that one, and that has had a chant in it and all of that to bring power when you're drawing down the moon. And then yesterday in the crone phase, I decided to do a binding rune and to both bring things back into balance and one nasty patriarchal phase bring us into another, set the tone of fellowship and joy and fulfillment and harmony, and then provide the structure and then the sending power for it to happen. And so what I drew, I just wanted to show it to you. You can get a clear picture of it. You can see Degas there, the biggest part of it. You see Hagalaz in the center. You see Vunyo forward and reverse there in the center. Also, Menas is there, and Fehu forward and reversed. So those were the runes, and that's the bind rune. And you're all welcome to go onto the blog at imsteppingaside.com and copy it. You can wood burn it or do whatever you want to. It's for personal use, not to sell or anything. They don't make money off of it. Just it's personal use. You can draw it on things. You can do it anyway. You can do it like I do. You can wood burn it onto something. You can just have it on a piece of paper and carry it with you. I've already consecrated the bind rune, but you can do it for yourself. All you have to do is just hold it in your hands. I tend to, you can do it anyway, but I tend to cover it. And then just say whatever you want to say to bless and consecrate the bind rune with your own energy and your own intention. But the point of this was to give us something as a focus, to remind us of the fact that to not only bring the energy together that needs to be brought together, and that's powerful, but it's also can be used as a focus and a reminder that women need to stand in their own power. Now, we don't have to be all out front and in people's faces about it. We don't have to do it that way, although we can, because there's certainly times when we need to. But the quiet reserve of a woman who just isn't going to give way, that's big. And oftentimes people don't find that out until it's too late, right? Now, maybe that's going to be at the ballot box. I don't know. Should be. But we can't afford to have people in control in our government that want to hurt women and want to interfere with their ability to handle their own reproductive issues, their own reproductive concerns, their own life. We should not be, oppressed at all. And yet it's not just pervasive, it's invasive, it's insidious, it's intrinsic within everything. And now there seems to be cover for this type of behavior now where men can just behave as any way they want to. And so you're starting to see different state legislatures try to undo Roe v. Wade. I doubt that that's going to happen, but it could. Bottom line is, women are at risk now in a way that they have never been before. So we need to be very, 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 very careful. We need to be very, very observant, and we need to vote. And if this is not what you want as a woman, please don't be influenced by your husband. Don't be influenced by anyone. Simply vote your conscience. Vote what you know to be right. And for the love of goddess, call your Congress people, you know? And if you don't, if you have someone that's stupid, then go call a Democrat or something. Go call someone who isn't. Maybe call someone that isn't your congressperson. Maybe start calling all of them. Send letters to all of them. I don't know. Clog up the phone lines. Do something, you know? But don't, for the love of goddess, do not, and for the love of your own sovereignty and dignity, don't vote for nonsense. You know, don't keep putting these stupid old men back into power that want to go and destroy whatever sovereignty we have. You know, this is nuts, and it's time this stuff ended. So anyway, I did a bind rune. To bind what I hope will happen into place and to protect women in the process. So feel free to draw it out and use it for your own purposes. Personally, let's get started. See what we have for a Monday. Coming off the full moon, the full flower blue moon. Actually, it used to be that there's two ways of looking at these blue moons, I guess. You can look at it in a second one in a particular season. So this is the second one in the spring season, or you can look at it as two in 1 month. I think the blue moon, when we had the moon in Libra, I think we had two that month. So I think when we have those 31 days in a month when you could possibly get that to happen, but or maybe it was two new moons. I don't remember now. There was two though, and it was in Libra. And it was this year, so. I just think that it amplifies things. So I like to do things on a second moon. It's always nice to do something anyway. All right, let's count 13 and see what we have for today. At least the first card anyway. If you haven't been here before, I take the 13th card each time, and I like it to be random, and I usually do 3 cards and 1 rune. And then lately I've been doing a geomancy rune, which is always fun. Sometimes it just, you know, throws a monkey wrench into everything. That's typical of geomancy, though. You'll inevitably get Carcer or Rubius or Cata Draconis or something like that, which is considered holy evil. And back in the day, it was thought, you know, in the 1400s or whenever, it was, or 1300s, it was thought, well, then if you draw that first, if you create that glyph first, when you're throwing the runes, then you have to just end the whole reading because it's just too evil to continue, right? And to that I say, lightweights. Well, we have the 5 of swords. So here we have 3 guys. I do not like the look on his face. He's way too gleeful for having won this argument, this conflict. 2 are bereft. Well, 1 is bereft. The other one just has his back to everything. But he seems a little bloodied, doesn't he? Although that could simply be his clothing. But you see the water in the background, the sketchy brownish, weird brownish clouds. Five is about change and fulfillment. And swords is about our intellect. It's the air element. And it's one of the ones that can get us into trouble because, you know, our mouths do this before our heads engage and before spirit engages. It says, no, don't do that. Let's see what else, though. The other thing we do here is we move our cards around sometimes. You know, sometimes we'll lay them out because they're so random. If you did them one after the other, but even with that, you know, you can still move your cards around. Particularly if you have court cards, because they talk to one another. You know, if they're looking in a different direction, if they're not looking straight on at you, then they might talk to one another. So you want to move them around and see if they can have a conversation that might bring some meaning to the reading. So don't be afraid to do that. Move them around. It's your reading. This is all about telling a story. And sometimes order, if you set the intention that I'm going to go past, present, future, or first this happened, then that happened, you know, then sometimes you can get away with that. But then you'll have this card that's just sitting there and you're going, well, what the heck does that have to do with it? You know, so you start looking at it in different places and you go, oh, I see. So even with that, don't be so beholden to the tarot spread, in other words, and make it your own. Make it a fluid situation instead of something carved in stone. Our lives are not carved in stone. No reason for our tarot to be as well. So hang on one moment. Having a crone moment. I'm surrounded in candles and my air conditioning isn't on. Sometimes at night, it's not warm enough here yet, you know, consistently so that we need the air conditioning on at night. So, and it's been raining the last couple of days, so, which is unusual here on the high desert, but it does happen. You know, we will get rain. We just don't get a lot of it. My husband's out weed eating the top irrigation ditch. He did the whole side one over the last couple of days, and that's about, just shy of 800 feet, more than 750, probably more like 775 feet, 780, something like that. And then across the top now, that's going to be about 300. So he's up there doing that now because our irrigation starts about 11:15. So he wants to get that all done. It grows and you can't see anything. And he also likes to mow. He mows this edge around our pasture with our tractor lawnmower, and it makes it so much easier because you can't ever, if the grass is really tall next to where the water's coming out, you can't see where it's going. And so it's nice that he's doing that. And then plus we also weed eat all of it so that it, you know, stays. You can see things. You can see what you're doing. So he's up there doing that right now. Anyhow, I have the Six of Swords, which I have not drawn in a while. And yeah, I can't remember which deck this is in. I don't remember if it's the Wildwood Tarot, maybe. I'm not sure. One of them, though, one of the pagan-oriented decks. Anyhow, it shows the it shows a guy in a swan boat. It's just awesome. But here you have a man, and we're assuming this is his little family. His wife and child are huddled against the cold. You can see that there's snow, but they're out on the water, and they're headed in a new direction, aren't they? They've got all of their ideas and their plans in front of them. The swords pointing downward into form, suggesting that they're going to a new direction, a journey over water maybe, but basically they're going to a new direction in life. So we've had some change. So there's a 5 and then there's a 6. So we've got a progression there. We may keep this order, but let's take a look here on this 6 of Swords, because I have a whole lot on it. Moving into higher self-awareness. Now, if you don't want to look at just what's on the card itself and interpret it that way, given that it's intellect, this is about awareness and pointing downward the swords pointing downward can either suggest a focus on physical matters, or it can also mean spirit is informing as well. So if you're looking at it in terms of moving into higher self-awareness, and you look at it in conjunction with this, maybe you're moving away from conflict, because this gives you the sense of movement away from or movement towards something. Because if you're moving towards something, you're also moving away from something. So maybe you're moving toward a better understanding of something, perhaps. But basically, it denotes a positive future. So whatever happened here, 6 alone is about harmony and higher self energies in play. So here, maybe we've come to an end of something with the 5. And it could be that either This guy in the 6 could be one of the guys in the 5, maybe. I mean, that's if you want to give it a literal interpretation. But if you don't, then you're looking at conflict with the 5 of Swords. And we continue the whole intellect aspect of all of this. And we're making a different decision and we're moving to something else. So a new awareness, new experiences, taking our swords and going somewhere else with them. I got to think the rune's going to give us the most information, or maybe the geomancy rune. I don't know. Let's do the 3rd card, though. I really want to know what's going to happen here. Well, we have the Ace of Cups. So we're talking emotional fulfillment here. The hand reaches out from the clouds with a chalice. We see the Dove of Peace with the Templar cross there, basically. We see 5 streams of water coming out, denoting fulfillment. So there's an alignment with the 5 there. But it's not. It's if you look at them together, it's not the fulfillment of the 5 in emotional fulfillment. It's moving away from the conflict that brings the emotional fulfillment. And if we keep the order, we've done that here. So yeah, I feel like we need to keep the same order. Well, I don't know where my Hawthorn runes are. So, I don't know what I did with them. Oh, yes, I do. They're back here. I guess I can put that back. Looks like I need to clean up. Put them all back. I did. Okay. So let's pull a rune. And there I don't take the 13th one. I just let them fall through my hand in the bag. That's how I do it when I do bind runes too. I set the intention and I just start pulling out runes. And usually a bind rune, you don't want to get too many. 5 is probably the top amount you want to go to. Otherwise, it just becomes a little too complicated when you're trying to put them together. You generally don't draw each one out in a bind rune. You're combining them, you know, so you're using different aspects and you can kind of see on this particular bind rune, because I included the runes around the outside, you can kind of see how that happens. But, you know, when I do that, they never fail me. I always get the right ones each time. And so I've always felt really comfortable not choosing runes for a bind rune. The only time I did that was I did a bind rune of the 3 Norn runes, and that's really the only time I've ever done that. But here we have Yura. I think it's the 12th rune. What happened to my little notes here? Yeah, it's the 12th rune of the Elder Futhark. So a 3 energy. It's an as above, so below type of movement here, or energetic structure. You're seeing, it's basically energy exchange. It's movement, it's transformation. It means year. It's about cycles. So I included in a garden bind rune that I have hanging around in my different areas that I have outside, the different greenhouses and different garden spots I have. I hang a garden bind rune out there for fertility and growth and good harvest. So, and Yura is part of that one. I think I have on the back side of it, I have the witch rune for harvest. That's another set of interesting runes. If you've ever seen them before, the witch runes, depends on the set that you look at, but there's like 10 or there's 13, either way. But year is nice. You know, 3 energy is mind, body, spirit alignment. It's catalytic. It's manifestation. So here with manifestation, this is an active type of a presence, an active type of an energy. So what we're going to do here, we're also going to do a geomancy rune, I think. Little bit of give and take. Now you could think there might have been some give and take in the 5 of Swords, but realistically, it's more about conflict. But some changes happened, you know, and either the individual. I don't get the sense that the guy who's picking up the swords is the same guy in the 6. I think the guy in the 6 is one of the other 2, or you know, or represented by one of the other 2, and then he's just decided, you know what, I'm going to go and do something else now, and I'm going to think a different way about this. I'm going to go in a different direction in my mind about something, take a different perspective. Okay. There's fire. It's air. That's water. Okay, so we have Carcer, which is self-imprisonment. I'll draw that out for you so that you know what that looks like. Okay. Oh, well, there's a bigger piece here. All right, this is yellow, so you can see it. I went and I bought some. You can't ever find white Post-it notes, and gosh, I just wish I could. I know you can, like within one of those, you know, the multicolored things, you know, cubes you can buy. Sometimes you can, and I'll take the white out, you know, and stack them up. And anyway, I can't see anymore, you know, and I love the dark colors, so I love the dark purples and everything, but and the dark blues, they're always cool, but I can't see what I do, right? So I went up to the store yesterday and I got some yellow Post-it notes, and so I can actually see what I'm doing here. But this is Parser. I mean, it kind of looks imprisoning, doesn't it? It's considered evil, an evil presence. It's one of those I was talking about that geomancers in the olden days would just go, "Oh my God, I can't continue." Pansies. Anyway, oh, did I say that? How catty! Oh my God. Anyway, anyway, but Carcer reminds me of the 8 of Swords, because you're talking about. I mean, in one sense, you're talking about getting in the way of your own process. You're talking about self-imprisonment. You're not being able to see the forest for the trees, that kind of thing. You're just so bound up by everything that you can't really engage any longer. And so you see this woman blindfolded, surrounded by swords, and she's all bound up as well. So I just look upon that as self-imprisonment. You know, here's the thing. If you think about it, we are all here having our own experiences. And so if you think about it metaphorically from the many worlds concept or the multiverse concept, even though I believe that there are layers of universes, even though I believe that things vibrate it can be in the same place, we could, who knows, it's all right here maybe. But there's many layers of vibration, and so different realities exist within those different layers, okay? And it's how, when we think about the idea of expressing into form, the notion that it all happens at once. And so all lifetimes happen at once. We have the sense of past, present, and future, but we don't, that's likely not how this is happening. It's likely happening all at once. And so we have multi-lives that are being lived at once. And it doesn't mean that there won't be layers of those or groupings of those. It just means that we're in more places than just here. So if we're all having our own experience, then there's only one experience for each one of us. Even though we're part of a shared one, there really is only one for each one of us. And so if we blame other people, this is where I'm going with this. I know it takes me a bit sometimes, but If we're going to blame someone else for whatever we're experiencing, then we're not perceiving it correctly. We choose the experiences we have before ever coming into form. Now, maybe not specifics of them, but the overall theme. And maybe we've agreed to be part of someone else's universe of experience, whatever they want to experience here, no matter how icky. We might be part of that. We might be helping out, being a player in it for them, and vice versa for us. So when we think carcer, when we're ready to blame other people for imprisoning us, we have a choice how we see everything. We can see awful things that are happening to us and regard them as such, acknowledge, yeah, that's awful. But we don't need to have it upend us like frequently it does. If you're emotional, like I am, I'm a Libra, so I'm like always trying to achieve balance. Sometimes, being an empath, I'm absorbing a lot of people's emotions, and so I can have a lot of emotion. Even when I'm not doing that, I can be emotional. The Venusian side, right? Plus, I think my moon is in Pisces. No, is my moon in Pisces? Yeah, I think my moon's in Pisces. So right there, you know. But the point is that if all there really is our experience within our life, and all we're doing is interacting that experience with everyone else's, then if other people are affecting us, we're letting that happen. That's a choice to engage that way. And maybe we're doing it for some broader purpose that we had before coming in here. Maybe that's what's happening. But if it's not, try changing your perception of it. Try looking at it with more dispassion and not forming a judgment. Tough, I know. But it's moving away from the ego vision when you do that and into source vision. And I think maybe if we could all develop our source vision a little more and engage that with one another, I think we'd be in a better place. Maybe we wouldn't be so apt to carcer ourselves and imprison ourselves, you know. I think that probably what we see here in the 6 is that they've broken out of that self-imprisonment. And they've broken into emotional fulfillment, something that is more joyful, more contentment. Because with the 5, no one's content. Well, maybe the guy holding the swords, but then here a change has happened, and they're moving to higher self-awareness where they can be more fulfilled. So ideally then, what this is doing, and we're using the as above so below energy of self, right? Spirit informing the process to move out of the conflict and imprisonment that we feel, because we can be bound by conflict. If you're always in conflict, sometimes you're doing it, you know, or you're at least agreeing to be there. And you'll go, oh, no, I'm not agreeing to be there. That's a terrible place to be. But yet you're still there, aren't you? I don't know. Just refuse to engage with it, you know? Refuse to only, just choose to only engage with enjoy. And if conflict comes up, it's like, well, we can talk about this without being in conflict. Because you can talk about a problem dispassionately without tensions rising. It's like, okay, you know, you left the milk out. We needed it. You know, you don't have to get crazy with one another. You know, it's spoiled now. You have to go to the store. You don't have any money. Haven't gotten paid yet. You know, so I mean, it could be anything, right? And we weren't great milk drinkers, so no, that didn't happen in my home. We're not cows, people. We shouldn't be drinking milk anyway. Oh my goodness, anathema. Lots of ways to get calcium. You don't have to get it through cow's milk. So no, my children didn't have glasses of milk on the table at dinner time. There was no mom saying, drink your milk. I made sure they got it other ways. Anyhow, they could have ice cream, they could have cheese. If they wanted milk, they could have it, but they didn't really like it. My husband is the only one who likes it. So the only reason I had it was for cooking and for him. Anyhow, not to go on with the milk analogy, but the whole point is that we can stay within conflict and imprison ourselves with Carcer, the energy of Carcer, or we can move to higher self-awareness, gaining more emotional fulfillment in the process, taking command of things, feeling like, you have actually some control over your life, living in balanced fulfillment, and not imprisoning ourselves. I can't pick them all up, so there's 4 of them. Well, that's interesting. Well, we reached our 30-minute mark, a little bit over, almost 31. So I've been trying to keep these right around 30 minutes. Otherwise, if I start ranting and raving about whatever's going on in the world, then it gets risky, doesn't it? Anyhow, thank you so much for coming by. Think about this for today. I'll write this down again. Last week, we were kind of breaking again into a new direction, and this seems to be considering, the same kind of theme, really. I think that last week, we were talking about legacy and transferring of that legacy into new awareness and new directions and all of that. Vunio came up a couple of times, I think, and it's also part of this bind rune that I did. We can always talk about the things we're upset about, but if we don't talk about what we want to happen, here's the thing about work and magic, okay? In any binding spell that I do, especially if it's a bind rune, you have to be careful when you are trying to influence someone else's free will. If you try to bind someone's free will, it can backfire on you. And so that's why performing curses is a really delicate thing. I prefer bindings. It's not that a curse can't be done. It's just that you have to be careful. We all have free will, and no one has any right to interfere with that. And some of these awful things that we see happening, these are soul agreements. We look at it and go, oh my God, how could that happen? Well, it was a soul agreement. That's how. People engaged in it eagerly even. Oh, wow, let's experience that, But the bottom line of it is that if we choose a focus on ego, then that's what we're going to get. If we choose a focus on spirit, which we're not accustomed to doing because we're here playing this life out together, And as I said, we're really not that together in that respect. We can always choose to see things from the standpoint of objectivity, from the standpoint of dispassion, from the standpoint of higher self. Higher self doesn't get involved in the petty goings on of humanity. Higher self wishes to stand apart from that. And we're not accustomed to that. We're accustomed to the war, the duality war, the polarity war. But that was a choice to simply have that focus. So with Carcer being the geomancy rune, let's remember not to imprison ourselves by the focus that we have, because that really is what it is. When we're upset about something, when we can't let something go, that's focus, but it's also a choice. Oh, but it's such an upsetting situation. Of course I'm upset. Yeah, well, there's the justification, isn't it? Don't allow that to happen. The minute you do that, you put yourself into prison. You put yourself into the Carcer experience, because now the game is on and you're not going to let go of it. Not for anything, because you've made the commitment to it. So make a different commitment. Make a commitment from source energy, from spirit, from creator, because that's what we are. Don't give it away to ego, and stay in the moment. The family in the 6 did not do that. They let it go, and they went on to higher self-awareness, to something better, to something new, something not in conflict. So if you can't physically move yourself out of it, then at least emotionally and spiritually and mentally get yourself out of it. Reduce your connection to it. And at that point, if you have to visualize the connection as a line, a ribbon of energy, allow that energy to dissolve. Just allow it to dissolve. Visualize it dissolving. And see if you don't get yourself in a better frame of mind almost immediately. And see then if and feel the energy that you connect with at that point. Think about that. Think about how much of that choice to connect with that negative energy, when we rise to the occasion, when we take the bait, you're making a connection. What if instead of doing that, if you visualize the connection forming, let it dissolve, and see if it doesn't make you a little more calmer in that situation. Try that. See what happens. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks so much for coming by. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another. Blessed be.